You think if you stay quiet, you lose her. You think if you don't explain, reassure, or reach out, she'll forget you and move on like nothing happened. But the truth is the opposite. Your silence is not what makes you weak. Your panic is. You keep assuming that the man who says more cares more, that the man who chases harder loves deeper, that if you just send the perfect message, say the perfect thing, show enough pain, enough loyalty, enough patience, she'll finally understand what she lost. No, that is not strength. That is dependency dressed up as devotion. And if you need reminders like this, if you're tired of being pulled back into weakness by your own emotions, subscribe, not for me, but for you. So the next time your mind starts begging for comfort, you hear truth instead. Here's what it really means when her guilt is building and you say nothing. It means you are finally stepping out of the courtroom where you've been defending yourself to someone who already saw your effort and still chose distance, confusion, disrespect, or indifference. It means you are no longer interrupting the consequences of her choices with your availability. It means you are letting reality do what your words never could. That's the part most men never understand. They think silence is a game. They think silence is a tactic. They think silence is some manipulative move to make her come back. No. If that's what you're doing, she'll feel it. Desperation has a scent. Performance has a pulse. Forced silence is still noise. Real silence is different. Real silence says, I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to beg for. I said what I said with my actions. If that wasn't enough, more words will only make me smaller. You were trained to fear silence because silence removes your illusion of control. When you speak, you feel active. When you text, you feel involved. When you explain yourself again, you feel like you're doing something. But doing something is not the same as doing what works. And what works is not always what feels relieving in the moment. Sometimes the strongest move is the one that starves your ego and feeds your dignity. You want to know why her guilt grows more in your silence than in your speeches? Because when you stop talking, she has to hear herself. When you stop chasing, she has to sit with the contrast. When you stop making it easy for her to avoid the weight of what she did, she has to carry it without your emotional labor. You stop calming her conscience. You stop volunteering your heart as a cushion for her confusion. You stop rescuing her from the discomfort she created. That's called consequences. And consequences are powerful because they don't argue, they don't plead, they don't negotiate, they just exist. Most men sabotage this. The guilt starts building in her. She feels the space. She feels your absence. She feels the strange heaviness of not being able to access you whenever she wants. She starts replaying things. She starts wondering. She starts remembering your consistency, your patience, your realness. And right when the weight begins to settle, he texts. Right when reality starts speaking, he interrupts it. He sends the late-night paragraph. He sends the just checking on you. He sends the soft invitation to disrespect him again. Why? Because he can't tolerate uncertainty. He would rather feel rejected than wait in silence with his self-respect. Read that again in your bones. He would rather feel rejected than wait in silence with his self-respect. That is the addiction, not to her, to relief, to immediate relief, to the tiny hit of feeling connected, even if that connection humiliates him, to the false hope that one more conversation will fix what her behavior already made clear. That's not love, that's emotional withdrawal. That's the nervous system begging for a familiar drug. And this is where the hard truth enters. The reason you keep wanting to break silence is not because your heart is pure, it's because your identity is unstable. You still believe your value rises or falls based on whether one woman chooses you correctly. You still confuse being understood with being worthy. You still confuse being wanted with being enough. So when she pulls away, disrespects you, betrays trust, keeps you in ambiguity, or treats your commitment like a convenience, it doesn't just hurt your feelings. It threatens your self-concept. And then you rush to repair it through contact. But a man with self-respect doesn't use her attention as proof of his value. He uses his standards. That's the difference. One man says, how do I get her to feel what she lost? The other says, Why was I so ready to abandon myself just to stay emotionally connected to someone who mishandled me? One lives in strategy. The other lives in reality. One is trying to influence her, the other is rebuilding himself. One is obsessed with her guilt, the other is committed to his freedom. And ironically, the man who stops trying to control the outcome is the one whose absence becomes undeniable, not because he is playing a role, because he is no longer available for misuse. That lands differently. You need to understand the root cause of why this dynamic exists. People often don't feel the full weight of their choices while they still have access to you. Access softens impact. Access creates emotional anesthesia. As long as you're still answering, still explaining, still showing up, still proving, still open, still loyal, still there on command, the mind can tell itself a comforting lie. It wasn't that serious. He's still here. I didn't really lose anything. Your constant presence protects her from the truth of your absence, but remove access and fantasy dies. Then she can't tell herself you're always there. She can't use you for reassurance while giving someone else her inconsistency. She can't treat you like emotional insurance. She can't keep you in orbit while deciding whether you deserve gravity. Your silence forces clarity, not because silence is magic, because space reveals structure. When the noise is gone, the truth gets louder. And what does it cost you when you refuse to learn this? It costs you your edge. It costs you sleep. It costs you your purpose. It costs you your frame. It costs you mornings you should be building your body, your money, your discipline, your future. But instead, you're staring at your phone, reading old messages like a man digging through emotional ashes, hoping to find a spark. It costs you your pride because every time you go back where you were undervalued, a piece of you sees it, a piece of you records it, a piece of you loses trust in you. That is the deepest damage, not that she hurt you. That you taught yourself you would stay available even after being shown you should step back. A lot of men think heartbreak breaks them. No, repeated self-betrayal breaks them. The moment you know better and still crawl back, something inside you hardens in the wrong direction. You stop respecting your own voice. You stop believing your own boundaries. You say, never again. And then again comes, you say, I'm done. And then one text undoes your entire speech. That's called internal weakness. Not because you feel pain, but because your actions keep kneeling before it. So let's reframe this completely. Silence is not about making her suffer. Silence is about no longer volunteering to suffer for both of you. Silence is not punishment. It is the end of self-abandonment. Silence is not coldness. It is emotional sobriety. Silence is not bitterness. It is the refusal to keep explaining your value to someone who benefited from it and still mishandled it. And yes, if guilt is building in her, let it build. Let it sit there. Let it press on her chest when the room is quiet. Let it visit her when she remembers how steady you were. Let it speak when she notices you are no longer available for half-hearted contact, mixed signals, last-minute curiosity, or emotional leftovers. Let it do its work in silence. You do not need to narrate what she should already know. The urge to explain is often just the fear that reality won't speak loudly enough on your behalf. But reality doesn't need your help. If you were solid, if you were sincere, if you were patient, if you gave honestly and stood clean, then your absence already says everything. The man who loved well and then walked away with dignity leaves a louder echo than the man who stayed begging to be recognized. Now picture the man who understands this. He does not move like a hostage to emotion. He does not wake up asking whether she misses him. He wakes up asking whether he is aligned. He carries himself like his last name means something. He is not loud, but he is not loose. He is not cruel, but he is not easily accessed. He listens to his own gut. He honors what he sees. If the energy is off, he doesn't negotiate against his own instincts. If the respect is missing, he does not stay and teach another adult how to value him. If trust is broken, he does not build a home on a cracked foundation and call it love. He is grounded. He can feel deeply without becoming reckless. He can care without collapsing. He can miss someone without moving toward what dishonors him. He does not confuse longing with instruction. Just because he feels it does not mean he follows it. Just because he remembers the good does not mean he forgets the truth. Just because he has love to give does not mean everyone deserves access to it. That is the man. He is not trying to win her back. He is trying to remain the kind of man he can look in the eyes in the mirror. He knows a lost woman is not worth a lost self. He knows attention is cheap, access is expensive, and peace is earned through discipline. He knows that closure is often just ego asking for one last conversation so it can avoid accepting what already happened. He knows that if someone needed your breakdown to recognize your value, they were never ready for your strength. Be that man, not in theory, in behavior. Do this. Stop checking her page. Stop rereading old messages. Stop discussing her with people who keep your wound warm. Stop creating fake emergencies in your mind just to justify contact. Stop romanticizing who she could be and measure who she is by what she consistently did. Stop mistaking chemistry for character. Stop calling your anxiety intuition. Stop reaching for your phone every time loneliness taps your shoulder. Now redirect. Redirect the energy into structure. Wake up earlier. Train harder. Eat cleaner. Stack your days. Get your money organized. Finish what you've been avoiding. Clean your room, clean your language, clean your circle. Get around men who do not applaud emotional chaos. Build a schedule that leaves less room for obsession. Read things that sharpen you. Learn things that increase your leverage. Put your attention where your future can pay you back. And when the urge hits, and it will hit, do not negotiate with it. Name it. This is loneliness. This is ego. This is withdrawal. This is fear. Good. Once you name it, you stop worshiping it. Then move. Go for a walk. Hit the gym. Put the phone in another room. Call a brother who tells you truth, not a coward who tells you to follow your feelings into another humiliation. Write what you want to say, then don't send it. Let the wave pass. Most weakness is temporary. Permanent damage comes from obeying temporary weakness. You need tighter standards around your inner life. Because every time you say, I just had to reach out, what you really mean is, I let a feeling outrank my values. And that is not who you're trying to become. Maybe she comes back, maybe she doesn't, maybe guilt brings her to your door. Maybe it only visits her in private. Maybe she realizes what she lost. Maybe she buries it and keeps moving. None of that can be your center. The moment your healing depends on what lessons she learns, you're still chained to her. Her realization is not your mission. Your restoration is. That's the real power shift. You stop asking, what is she feeling? And start asking, what am I building? You stop asking, will she regret it? And start asking, will I respect the man I become after this? You stop asking, should I say one more thing? And start asking, why am I still trying to earn what should have been given freely? That's how the frame changes. Because the deepest revenge is not revenge. It is indifference earned through growth. It is peace that no longer needs witnesses. It is strength that does not announce itself. It is a life so aligned that you stop fantasizing about being chosen by someone who had the chance and mishandled it. The fantasy dies, the man remains, and once the man remains, everything changes. Your voice gets calmer, your decisions get cleaner, your presence gets heavier, you stop over-explaining, you stop auditioning, you stop trying to be emotionally impressive, you become simple, direct, honest, hard to shake, harder to manipulate. Your standards stop sounding like threats and start feeling like gravity. People either rise to meet them or remove themselves. Either way, you win. Because that's what self-respect does. It organizes your life, it filters chaos, it exposes confusion, it protects energy, it restores focus. And no, this does not mean you become bitter. It means you become exact. You no longer hand out unlimited chances in the name of being understanding. You no longer call tolerance a virtue when it is really fear of losing connection. You no longer pride yourself on how much pain you can absorb. That is not masculine strength. That is untrained endurance. Real masculine strength is discernment. Real masculine strength is restraint. Real masculine strength is the ability to walk away from what your emotions want because your spirit knows better. So if her guilt is building, let it, in silence. Do not send the rescue message. Do not offer emotional CPR. Do not reopen the door just because memory got sentimental. Do not become accessible because the night got lonely. Do not downgrade your standards because your heart got restless. Stay still. Let reality speak. Let absence teach. Let consequences breathe. And while that happens, rebuild. Build a body that reflects discipline. Build a mind that doesn't collapse in uncertainty. Build a life that is not waiting in the hallway of someone else's indecision. Build friendships rooted in truth. Build work that matters. Build habits that make you proud. Build a name that means steadiness. Build a private life so solid that no single person can shake the whole structure. That is how you stop being ruled by one chapter. Listen carefully. Your silence only has power if it is backed by substance. If you go silent but spend every day obsessing, stalking, spiraling, fantasizing, and secretly hoping she notices, then you are not free. You are just mute. Freedom is deeper. Freedom is when your attention comes home. Freedom is when your day no longer bends around someone else's inconsistency. Freedom is when you no longer need her guilt to validate your pain because you have already validated it yourself and moved accordingly. That is maturity. You don't need to convince anyone that you were worth loving correctly. You need to live like you know it. And maybe that's the line you've been missing this whole time. You keep trying to communicate your value instead of embodying it. But embodied value is unmistakable. It does not chase understanding. It does not beg for proper treatment. It does not perform pain for sympathy. It simply withdraws from what dishonors it and invests where it can grow. That's your move now. Withdraw, rebuild, refocus, repeat. Not because you hate her, because you're done hating yourself. Not because you want to punish her, because you refuse to keep punishing yourself. Not because silence is a trick, because peace has a sound, and sometimes it sounds like saying nothing at all. So take your hands off the phone. Take your mind out of the loop. Take your heart back from the altar where you've been sacrificing it to hope. Stand up straight. Breathe. Feel the urge without obeying it. Feel the ache without kneeling to it. Feel the loss without turning it into a lifelong identity. This is not the end of you. This is the return of you. You are not the man who needs one more reply to move forward. You are not the man who has to be chosen to become whole. You are not the man who keeps bleeding just to prove he can love. You are the man who learns. You are the answer you've been to act like it. And if this gave you the clarity your emotions have been trying to steal from you, subscribe. So when weakness starts talking loud again, truth finds you first. Stay here with people who are done confusing pain with purpose and attachment with love. You're not alone in this, and you're not lost. You're rebuilding, and this is where men come to remember who they are.